Deborah Boschert. I am here at the Quilters Guild of Dallas, Dallas Quilt Show 2025, and I am delighted that the Quilters Guild of Dallas invited me to be one of the featured members for this year's show. So I have 26 of my quilts in this special exhibit. Let me give you a little bit of a tour. So we start with this diptych here, these two pieces right here. Two of my ladder quilts. There are several quilts in this special exhibit that have ladders on them, sort of a symbol that I use regularly in my body of work. These are also landscape quilts because I love a line of trees. So we have this line of trees here, echoed by this line of trees in the other quilt. And then the next part of the exhibit are these two self-portrait pieces. So two silhouettes. There's waxing crescent endeavor on the left and waning crescent meditation on the right. One with a ladder in the figure and one with a tree in the figure. These pieces were made in 2014 and were really the beginning of my exploring these layers of fabric, paint, and stitch for these art quilt collages. All right, let's go around the corner. This is summery. In this quilt, I challenged myself to include almost all of the shapes that I consider personal symbols in one quilt. So there's a ladder here. It's pretty subtle. It's green on green. And then we have this house shape and the bowl shape. There's also these crop lines and another line of trees. And then I love these botanical shapes. So these big white leafy branches in this piece. Okay, so let's go into the gallery space of the exhibit. So let me first say that along this back wall here, I have 4 pieces that are part of what I call my This and That series, because they all have titles that are 2 words. So we can start with this piece here. This piece is called Even and Odd. The title flew out of my head for a moment. Even and Odd. And then next we have Cuts and Bruises. And then the next piece is this one here, which is titled Near and Far. And then this piece, the brown one, is titled Through and Through. So these are all part of a series. They're all 60 by 40 inches. They're all abstract compositions using ladders as sort of the focal element. So it was really a wonderful opportunity to be able to hang them all in a row together. Let's look at these 4 pieces that are on the other side over here. This is Indigo Garden. And then we have another landscape piece, Scattered Showers. Another line of trees. Again, lots and lots of hand embroidery and free motion quilting. Also various surface design techniques using lots of different printmaking tools. This piece is called Just Sitting. I also love chairs as a personal symbol. And usually the chair is exploring the importance of stillness and rest. So the chair is sort of a welcoming, open, empty space where you might think about quietness and stillness. This is the newest piece in the exhibition. It's titled Uncultivating or Uncultivated, and was made in 2023. And I've really lately been exploring a lot more layers of stitch, really dense machine stitching, and lots of spaces where there's hand embroidery. Okay, so now we're going to go over to this other side of the exhibition. You can see straight away those 4 landscape quilts that are on that back wall. So it was really fun, again, to hang those 4 pieces together. So this is Haze and Hope, a landscape with a big house in the middle of it. This house is so transparent that you can literally see through it, and it sort of feels like it's floating. Sometimes we feel like that in our lives. The house seems to be floating away. This is a relatively new piece. This is Moonrise over Red Fields. I just love this sort of suggested perspective of the crop lines. Here's Dusk Breeze, another quilt that is really all about exploring lines of trees. So several different shapes and sizes of trees in this piece. And then the last of these landscape quilts back here on this stretch of wall is Shelter and Stream. And then we can pivot right over here to this large quilt, which is titled Multitudes. And you can actually see on the surface of the quilt is this quote from Walt Whitman, "I contain multitudes." And then we have this bowl shape in the middle of the quilt acting as a literal container for this idea of complexities. The lights are going off. The show is closing down. This is Neighborhood, and these last quilts here along this wall are sort of my neutral quilts. I love quilting with tan and gray and brown. As you can see here, another ladder quilt with this brown ladder. This is Twilight Lifting. And then this piece here with the red branch is titled Glimpse. And then this one here is titled Boundless and Bare. This quilt was made during the pandemic. I think a lot of artists have a piece of work that they made sometime in 2020, exploring the feelings and experiences of that time, and this is that quilt for me. So there's one more quilt around the outside of the exhibit. You can follow me. This is the last of my quilts in this special exhibit. This piece is titled Winged Return. I made this quilt when my family and I were moving from Maryland back to Texas, and we were moving at about the same time as the monarchs were migrating through Texas. So there's a lot of butterfly motifs in this quilt, and sort of my exploration of our great opportunity to return back to our home in Texas. Thank you so much for looking at my quilts here at the Quilters Guild of Dallas Quilt Show. Such a delight to be able to hang them all together and to share my work and talk about making fine art with fabric and stitch.